Welcome to the first ever podcast of Curvy to Queen. Um, I would like to introduce you to my dear, dear, dear friend, Annetta Taylor. We go way, way back. I say that my journey started the day we met. And we laugh saying that it all started in a teepee.
Because it did.
It did. We met in a teepee.
Because it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been on a super long journey, and I credit so much of my journey of connecting with my self-confidence and my purpose in life and everything good in my world really stemmed from that day, and for her taking me under her wing. And the very first time I met her, I said to her, wow, you look like what I would look like fully realized. Like I saw myself in you, my future self in you. When I looked in your eyes, I was like, wow, like I can look like this, I can be like this, and how do I do this? And I really asked for your mentorship and your guidance, and we've been on such a journey together. So I'm really excited to share with other people what we've gone through and what we've discovered along the way on this journey to connect with our queen.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So happy to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it feels really good to be here and to be in this bed.
So for those that know me, know that I love to gather in my bed.
Yeah, we've had many birthdays, many parties, many events, many celebrations in the bed.
I just always think a party is better just all laying in bed. So
it's definitely more relaxing. Yeah,
yeah,
it feels very comfortable to be here. I'm just so honored to be here and to share our journey together. And thank you so much for having me here, Heather.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, so where do we begin?
I know. Where do we even begin?
So we have traveled all over the world together. I mean, we have known each other for how many years?
It's been 11 years now.
Wow, 11 years. So we have been through a lot of seasons together. We met at a priestess convergence where this woman had a vision that she wanted to gather the next generation of spiritual leaders. And somehow I got invited to it. And I arrived, and it was all these super advanced people. And then there was me. I was definitely the most green out of anybody there. And it was like...
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I also was like, these are my people.
Right.
This is my tribe, and this is my path. And I remember on the way to that priestess convergence, I didn't even know what a priestess was, actually. And on the way to the priestess I just knew I got this invitation, this thing, and that I was supposed to be a yes. And on the way there, I listened to a recording about what a priestess was.
Wow. And
I remember it was like a lightning bolt entered my body. And I mean, it was such a massive experience of like, this is my calling.
Yeah.
Wow, like I didn't even know this existed. I had always been searching for my like secret tribe and searching for this place that I would belong.
Mm-hmm.
And when I listened to that recording, it was like, oh my God, like this is what I've been searching for.
That's so incredible that you share that story, because I mean, in all fairness, I also didn't know what a priestess was. Like, even though I was invited, to assist at the High Priestess Convergence, I mean, just those 3 words together, I still didn't understand what it meant. And I remember at that time in my journey, in my spiritual journey, I was really working through judgment. That was like one of the biggest pieces that I was learning how, like, what to let go of. And I remember on the car ride there, I had this judgment I didn't even know what a priestess was, but I knew that she was someone who obviously operated in mystical realms. I knew that a priestess was someone who maybe tended to temple work, even though it was coming from a mythological perspective that I gained from studying anthropology and studying symbols and mythology. I didn't think of it in terms of real world application in the modern world. And so I remember on the drive over, I didn't even tell the facilitator this, but I thought that I was going to meet San Diego housewives who were like soccer moms. This is how much judgment I had. Who like were pretending to be priestesses. I literally was like, oh, how cute, you know, like how cute, like these moms want to be priestesses. And then when I arrived and I began, you know, I was the one who was saging everyone, and all of you were lined up. And I was like meeting each one of you and looking into your eyes. And I had this realization, oh my God, these are real priestesses.
Yeah.
These are real priestesses. And I mean, I have chills now, just even
chills.
thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like chills,
Yeah.
because in that moment, it was this like full realization of what we were doing together to bring all of these women together into this powerful convergence.
And it was like the most powerful grouping. I mean, it was so, I mean, we all became such close friends. You know, I mean, we all had a pivotal part in each other's journeys from that day.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The group of women, the constellation of souls that came together for that particular experience, and how much each of us activated each other's dharmic path in our journeys. Yeah,
it's so true.
Yeah, and specifically you and I.
Yeah.
Like specifically our journey.
Yeah,
was like incredibly activated by that experience. Yeah, I'm so grateful.
You know, I remember when I got invited to that, I called up my friend Diana and I said, you know, I got this invitation. What do you think? And she said, your guides say, gift from God, do whatever it takes to go. And that's why I went.
So fascinating.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, I was just on my own journey of healing. And the facilitator of that event got a download from Spirit that said, Vanetta needs to assist me. And I had no idea that I was being groomed to be an assistant. I didn't know that I was even prepared for that level of work. I had no idea because I was just on my own journey. And so it came through really quickly for me too, as an invitation and opportunity, and had no idea what I was stepping into. Like,
You and me both.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. I'm not going to say zero because it's not like I had never seen. It's okay, Benji. It's not that I haven't seen, you know, an experience or been to a retreat before, but never with that level of
soul creation.
Soul creation, exactly. Yes. Yeah, it was powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think after that, I realized, you know, I tried to go to things that were, you know, claimed to be similar to that, and realized it was something really special that we had experienced. And I think that's been part of our path together, you know, is trying to create that experience for other people.
Exactly, to recreate that for other people, to have the levels of activation and
where it's like on a whole different level of activation, of curation of who is being brought together. Yes. The environments of having a luxury
at a luxury villa, yes, and just how much care was placed on the sacred. Yeah. You know, so much tenderness, so much care, and an attention to details to ensure that every step along the way that we were held was really important.
Yeah, and I was so disappointed at the things I experienced afterwards.
Really?
Yeah. you know, that wasn't with us.
Yeah.
That wasn't with you.
I was like, but remember, like, because we did that goddess event. That was,
everything we did was great.
Yeah.
But like when I go to things outside
Oh, right.
of us, it was
Yeah, yeah.
like, oh, is this how other people are doing it?
right. Even
like,
when you went all the way to Peru and
oh,
you had to get
that
back
was
in the
the
boat.
worst.
You had to get back in the boat.
Yeah, it's the worst. Like the message was, this is not how you heal. You know, like you need to be in luxury. You need to be around the right people. That.
And it's different for everyone, because I've had experiences where I've gone, you know, to the Amazon and had a really, really deep, profound experience. But I think for the Queen Codes, particularly, you know, this experience was really, really powerful for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings me to one of the questions that I've, you know, in thinking about what to ask today, you know, is really, you know, what would you recommend to somebody that's just starting out on their quest to find themselves?
You know, just even, first of all, acknowledgement to everyone who is ready to step into the path of their authentic self. For everyone who is ready to embark upon a deeper journey than what we've been fed, you know, through this world. So I would say that, you know, the most important pieces are, number one, to find your tribe. I mean, we talk about that all the time, how important it is to find your tribe so that you can actually be seen by others who see the truth in you, and not through the masks that are created through living in this world that, you know, many of us have grown up with learning how to create masks for ourselves, and we really don't actually get to experience our authentic selves until we can experience that in the presence of someone who receives us.
I honestly think that that is the most important thing on any person's journey, whether it's for confidence, whether it's their spiritual quest, whether it's for their career. Like, I mean, I think it really starts there.
Find your tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are community-based people, and connection is such an important value and human need, and so to have that was really important. I mean, you say that your journey started when you found your tribe at that High Priestess Convergence.
Yeah.
You know, my journey started with a dream, but I would say like my path into spirituality started with finding my medicine. And my medicine is meditation. And so when I found meditation as a gateway into deeper understanding of myself, of the world, that began my path. But I was alone in it, you know, even though I was connecting with my mentor and monks from the organization that I started with. So I became an initiate in Kriya Yoga through the organization of self-realization, Paramahansa Yogananda's organization. Brother Bhaktananda was my spiritual mentor. So he was a direct disciple of Paramahansaji. So the lineage was really clean, really pure in the transmissions that I was receiving from him and through his counseling. Because when I would sit with him, he was my first spiritual mentor.
This is crazy.
Was clueless. Yes, and he literally said yes to meeting me every week from the moment I met him, because I just knew, oh my gosh, like this is the one who's going to help me. And I needed so much help, you know, like we all do on this path. And but yeah, connecting with him, but finding meditation was the beginning. But then I was kind of like lost and ungrounded. It wasn't until I found my tribe that I actually was seen. You know what I mean? And just a little backstory for you guys. Why we say it all started in a teepee is because we were at this event that we talked about, the High Priestess Convergence. And we're on this huge, beautiful property down in, where was it?
San Diego area.
San Diego area. Yeah, like La Jolla, San Diego area. And beautiful property. And there was a teepee on this property. I could have gone to some field trip in junior high, but I'm pretty sure that was the first time I had ever been in a teepee even for me, you know. And I remember Heather and I, we met, you know, at the beginning, but we didn't actually get to meet until we sat down in that teepee. And what she said is, she's like, I see you. I see like exactly who you are. And I remember feeling this sense of like disbelief, first of all, that someone could actually see me and see all of me. You saw me in a way that I didn't even see myself. So there were like all of these emotions that were happening at the same time, because I'm like, wow, people can see me. And then there was like, oh my God, I didn't even know that that was in me, what she's seeing. So it was really, really, really powerful when we met in the teepee and I received your reflection. So it's so interesting that you share this story that you know, actually saw your fully realized self in me, but I actually got to see myself through your reflection. So.
And that's the beauty of when you find your tribe, there's this permission slip for you to fully be, like it almost demands you to be your full authentic self, and then you get rewarded for that. Like it becomes this mirror, this process of being mirrors with each other, and then you finally realize that it's not only okay to really be your full authentic self, but now you actually have to.
Yeah, and to be honest, I feel like it was way more relaxing.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the biggest rewards. It's like, oh my God, you mean we can stretch out here? Like, okay. Like, because I can be myself. Oh my gosh, what a relief. I can be myself. Yeah.
And I think as humans, we're always in this belief that if we are like our real selves, that we will be fully rejected.
Yeah.
By society and those around us. You know, we're like in this constant dance of needing to fit in, needing to act a certain way. I mean, it's just societal.
Right.
You know, between our families and school and all these, and work, like it just gets piled on, and then you find a group of people that you can shed all of everything that isn't you, and it's the most liberating moment.
Yeah.
You know, and
so many benefits.
Yeah.
To being able to let go, let your hair down, and know that you're still accepted, and that you're actually more loved for being like the true self.
Totally.
Yeah. And what's so interesting too is that when you find your tribe, and we're all, you know, typically, you know, for people like us, you know, finding your tribe, we were all very energetically sensitive to those things. And so when we weren't being our authentic selves, like we could get called out on it too.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. Do you need to get down, Bindi? Do you need some help? Is that what's going on? There you go, babe. Okay, maybe she needs some water.
She might need the whole jacket taken off. But
everything okay here, Mike? Okay. Yes. There we go.
She's like, I'm gonna go to my room.
All right. Good. Yeah. Back to the question. Yeah. So tribe being number one. I would say another.
So really quick, I just want to add something that I always tell people: if you see somebody that is a flavor that you're really drawn to, like I saw Vanetta, and I was like, oh my God, like you have a special sauce that I want to have that sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go up to the people and actually talk to them and say, I see your special sauce. Can you help guide me? And even if it's just, can you introduce me to one other person that has a similar sauce as you? Because, you know, once somebody's gone through the process of finding themselves, we find each other.
Yeah.
And so if one person's found themselves, they have a tribe of people, or they know where to guide you to, go to this retreat, or go to this festival, or go to this country, or go to this town, go to this yoga center.
Yeah.
And even if they just give you one clue, it can really be helpful.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking to that, having someone else support you through that journey, through a retreat, for example. Retreats are so activating. It's a place where you can completely unplug from the rest of the world. And from my experience, every retreat that I've been to has helped me drop deeper into my intuitive knowing. So I then know the steps. I know how to guide myself, and there's so much wisdom that's shared in those circles from meeting other people who are similar to you on a similar journey. And then you have an experience together that you share for the rest of your lives, like us, like we still talk about High Priestess Convergence.
And especially retreats that are women only.
I think for women, for sure, women only.
If you're wanting to connect with confidence, and it cannot be understated how powerful women's gatherings are.
For sure. I mean, and, from my personal experience, once I started facilitating groups of deep transformational work, the women asked to be alone. We started off doing co-ed groups, and over time, and then I would have a women's group it actually started with just a women's group, and the women were very clear, for us to do our deep transformational work, we really need to be held in a way where it's so safe for us, and being in that container really helped so many women get through. And I know women told me that it was only in those circles that they were able to do some of their deepest work. And it's really interesting that when we then began doing co-ed groups, they felt more embodied, more connected. They were able to have deeper connection in all of their relationships, but especially with the men and other women, of course. Yeah.
Well, and I would say that you need to find a safe place to try on this version of you that's wanting to surface. You can't try it on in a dangerous environment.
Right.
No. It's really bad idea. Like, don't try it.
Yeah. It's hard to be your authentic self, in danger. It's hard to step out of the norm, in danger. You really need safety in order to change. Yeah, to try on something new. That's such a great point.
And it takes layers too. It takes time.
It takes
a lot of time.
I don't want to say it takes a lot of time, because when we started out, for example, when I started out, there weren't as many people who were open even.
True.
I mean, we have friends. We have a mutual friend who told us that in 2020 she was still being shamed for having spiritual practices. And we're talking about when we met in 2013, and there's just been this exponential growth of people awakening to a different way of life, than what the media has presented to us, to what the stories that we've been told. There's another way of being, and and it's really just our truth. And so I feel like to really begin to step into who you truly are, you absolutely need to find safe spaces. Regardless what journey you're on. If you're on a spiritual journey, if you're on a gender positive journey, if you're on a curvy journey, whatever journey you're on. Yeah.
And some people are able to do it instantly. I took a longer path with my journey, I would say.
Do you think some people are able to do it? I think so. I think more people are able to do it more instantly now because there's more support in the collective.
True.
That would be my experience.
you know what? I think the speed at which you do it is the speed at which you have the guts to move to the place.
And
to be in an environment where you can be yourself.
That's kind of true. Yeah, that's very true. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to really say, you know what, my essence belongs here. Yeah.
And it's not easy to do that. We've
It's
both
not.
done it. We've both moved from the States to Bali.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's a lot of courage leaps, you know, to make a change.
And to be fair, you know, even though my higher self told me you should move to Bali, it was because you were here that it made it feel really safe for me to move here. You know, like it took courage to move, but really because you were here and you had the courage to move here and you were following your guidance and you had had so many incredible experiences here in Bali before that you decided to make the leap and then commit to staying here.
But it took me like 8 years to move here.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I first came in 2018 and then I moved in 2020. So, but you know what it takes me a lot of courage to do is to walk up to people that I see. So like you do that really easily. Like you're able to walk up to someone who you're like, oh my God, I love their style. Let me just, where I'm more shy, more introverted, and it would take me longer to do that, even though I am stepping into that more and more.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for shy people, retreats are so good.
Exactly.
Because you have time to simmer. You
Yes.
have time to be the wallflower in the corner and do your thing if you're shy and
Just observe.
And just observe,
Yeah.
and you can do it at your own pace and your own, you know, we've had people that have been really shy in the beginning of retreats and end up loving it. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's like a really safe place to start.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that I'm the one who's like still shy and
It's
yet,
so funny.
and yet I'm like running the retreats?
I didn't realize that about you.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I know.
Well, okay, so here's my trick with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to think I was a bother to people,
Mm-hmm.
and then I switched it to, well, a little bee came and gave me a message that said that I was a pollinator and that I pollinated people's lives. And so I transferred that, like, oh, I'm bothering people, to, oh, I'm sprinkling them with pollen of their life. Like, okay, so
Like if I see you and you look like you belong in my life and then I show up in your life, I'm sprinkling like a new life into
No.
that life.
it's a gift.
Yeah,
I'm
of course,
delivering a
it's
gift.
always a gift.
And it's such a spiritual practice for me to just reflect what I see in people.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a gal working the bathroom, and I was just in India, and there was a gal working in the bathroom stalls, and I stopped, like, and I just looked her in the eye and I said, you know, I just want you to know that I see something really beautiful in you, and I'm just blessing up your life, and thank you for blessing up my restroom experience. And, you know, and like those little moments are so, like, such a precious part of my daily life.
Yeah, I love that you do that. I love that you offer these reflections to people. You're really good at offering those reflections, and yeah, it's not something that I do daily. You know what I mean? Like, not my thing.
Okay.
It's definitely not my thing. It's what I feel. What my thing is.
It's so fun.
I can imagine. I mean,
So
I've witnessed you do it. I know it's amazing. And like, I definitely offer that as like a tool. It's part of like my system of, you know, transformational work. I do a lot of reflection work, but for me, when I'm out in the world, this is just like us talking, but I just follow my guidance, you know. That's it. You know, if my guidance says you should say hi to that person, I'll say hi.
I have to say, I only do it if I've been guided.
Okay.
It's not like just a fluff thing. It's like, like there's something in me that's like, you need to tell this person this.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that comes back to intuition, which I was going to say is like definitely a massive step in this path of awakening one's true self. You know, we're talking about this journey from curvy to queen, but it's really, you know, as I was sharing with you, when you were sharing with me this beautiful vision that you have for this podcast, that for me, it took me a while before I got to the queen. I started with the healer archetype, and then I moved into the goddess archetype, kind of goddess priestess archetype. And then I moved into the queen. But all along the way, intuition really is what helped, I would say, present the next step before me on this path. It was always like my intuition was the guiding light. There were definitely people who helped to shape, but which I'm so grateful for. You know, I mean, my teachers, I will bow at their feet. You know, that's how much reverence I have for the teachers who came into my life. But each of those teachers who came into my life taught me how to trust more deeply into my own intuitive knowing. You know, they're my teachers for a reason, because they helped me become more of myself, essentially.
And I think this is something that I've seen. I mean, I feel like I've been on a really curvy to queen path.
So good.
And because some of my teachers in the beginning weren't teaching me how to connect with my intuition. You know, a lot of mentors don't really want to teach you that, because then they're not needed.
Right. Exactly.
And so I think for somebody starting out, I would say like that is actually a thing to look out for with who you choose as your mentor.
Yeah. Someone who isn't necessarily interested in imparting their system onto you or imparting all of their knowledge onto you, but really someone who is interested in elevating who you are, drawing out your gifts, supporting you and standing in your own power. And, you know, just from being, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, but in the, you know, this is a space that I operate in, and I'm, you know, I've never been taught somebody else's system, so I don't really know that whole formulaic way of being in this community of spiritual people, or even leaders, or, you know, beings, light bearers of a new way with life. I have seen on social media that there is a lot of how do we say, ego? Is that it? Yeah.
Ego, faking.
Fakes. Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. A lot. You do have to be worried about that.
Because
even we know people who have been on a spiritual path, who awakened their intuition, who were connected to themselves, and even got tricked into joining some mentor's program, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and not for a second be activated into their true wisdom self.
Yeah, I think you really need to find somebody that really is wanting to tap into your own special, unique codes, not place theirs on you.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of presenting it. Yeah, because we each have our own unique set of codes. Yeah, and we're all here like to activate our own codes and then fulfill our unique mission, you know, in life.
And we don't want to copy and paste somebody else's mission on us.
No way. Yeah.
Like, the world really needs each of our unique puzzle pieces.
Exactly.
For us all to thrive.
Yeah.
And we don't all want to look the same.
So boring.
So boring.
Just like robots.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we have this group of friends. We're called the Queens.
Okay.
And
we love you, queens.
yes. And we have discovered, and when we're all together, this thing called YAR.
Okay, back it up.
Sorry.
Rewind. We didn't discover a thing called YAR. YAR is a secret language that my ex-partner and I developed, and he called me YAR. And then when I had never been with another group of people that were as YAR as he like believed me to be until I met the queens. That's really the
Yes.
like how
sorry.
it happened.
I was just speeding through.
Speeding through.
Yeah.
But we what happens when we come together is that we activate each other's silliness.
And YAR stands for You Are Ridiculous.
Yes.
And it's meant as the highest level of compliment.
It's like the highest compliment you can give somebody, because if you can be in your like most ridiculous self,
The magic
it's
happens.
just the most joyous moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most joyous moment. So when we're with the queens, we often will say, "Oh my God, that's so YAR," right? And then when it's not so YAR, you know someone's really going through it.
Totally.
And we support each other. Yeah.
But stepping into that is so powerful.
It's so powerful.
It's amazing when you can find your group of people that you can truly be ridiculous with.
That is your tribe. Like the people that you can be your absolute silliest, most ridiculous self with is like for sure your tribe.
And the thing that, like, there's a thing that each of you feels so self-conscious about. Like, for me, it was about my weight. You know, for another friend of mine, it was like the size of her nose. Like, you know, like, for some people, it's their sexual preferences. Like, and you have to, like, find whatever it is that you're really self-conscious about and you think you would be rejected from society. That is actually the clue to your tribe. Like, go to the people that love that about you, and that you can be fully expressed with that without any judgment. And the people that find that are the happiest in the world.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because we're so happy.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we're so happy when we're together with our queens and with our tribe, and yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, what I love about what's happening today on the planet is that more and more people are finding their tribes, that there's so many opportunities now for people to plug into other like-minded, heart-centered beings. But I think what blocks us is that there's still maybe some naysayers. There still may be some judgments, like I'm the first one to acknowledge that I had a lot of judgment when I first stepped into the path, and that was a really big piece of my own inner journey, was to let go of judgment and come into greater acceptance.
I was so afraid of that I would have to become a hippie. And
hello. Yes. Case in point. Huge judgment.
Yeah,
about this belief that we were, that in order to really be our authentic selves, that you had to be a hippie.
And dirty and homeless, and like there's all these things that I had lumped up with that journey.
Which are all just judgments, you know what I mean? Because first of all, hippies aren't homeless. Or dirty.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like these were some of the things that people were thinking that, oh my gosh, if you want to be on a spiritual path, you're going to have to surrender
all your
belongings, all of your beliefs, all of your friends, all of your luxury,
Yeah.
when actually it was the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, when I got the download that it was really part of my dharma to teach hippies that they don't have to be hippies.
Welcome to the Queen of Adornment,
yes,
ladies and gentlemen.
You know,
Yes.
and really the memo was that there were a lot of people that were on the spiritual path that were actually had regal coding,
Mm-hmm.
and they were dressing like hippies because that was the only clothing available that was comfortable, that was different, and that it was my job to bring clothes that connected them to their regal coding so they could actually make money in the world.
I didn't know it was so they could make money.
Because if you have regal coding and you're dressed as a hippie, there's a misalignment.
For sure.
So if that isn't your like full authentic self, people aren't going to hire you as their teacher because something's off.
Exactly. I think that's the big key, like the misalignment, because we do know. I mean, I think there's right tons
Absolutely.
because it's authentic,
It's
to,
authentic
them.
to them.
Exactly. Yes.
But
yeah,
us dressed as a hippie doesn't work.
No, it definitely didn't work.
And then people
But we
wonder
were
why
definitely
they
ready
can't...
to let go of like the corporate conceptions of like how we're supposed to look, for sure. I mean, you definitely activated me into my new, it's like a new, it wasn't like a new wardrobe, but it was a new style, because the very first photo shoot that I did with you, you adored me, you put me in your clothing, you know, and I got to see myself in a new way. Oh my gosh, this is how I can show up in the world, and it was so beautiful. Yeah.
That shit was amazing. So good. Yeah.
It was a spectacular shoot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so in my previous life, I was a photographer, and I would take people through these processes of helping them connect to the self that they've been hiding, really.
Right.
And helping activate their I was working with people that had already been on a spiritual quest, that had already like had a lot of development within themselves, but their outside wasn't matching their inside. Mm-hmm. And so I would dress them in my clothes. I would kind of take them through like a visual activation process that just happened to be being photographed as well.
Yeah.
And through that, I would put my clothes on them, and they'd have this massive experience. And then I would need to take the clothes off of them, and they'd be hysterically crying in the parking lot. You know, like
that wasn't me. That was
not you. But other
people, yes.
They were like, "How do I find these clothes?"
Right, and that was kind of the birth of your brand, right?
Yeah, there came a point when I remember I went to Tony Robbins' advanced business course, and he said, "What's the one thing that you can't train somebody else to do, and in your business?" And I said, "Wow, it's the fashion activation." And that's actually why I stopped doing photography and went into fashion, because I realized that these clothes that were activating people literally just didn't exist, and that was actually my greater contribution.
And we are so blessed to be wearing these incredible creations. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
I'm curious where we are with time, because this is my first... How are we on time, love? How much more time do we have?
Done?
How much time do we have?
40.
We're at 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, perfect.
Amazing.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we go further? Or...
Yeah. Do you want to? You had other questions?
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay if we move a little bit, right? Yeah, because I'm like, you know, like leaning on this one arm. It's okay?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Amazing. Can you signal us when we're approaching the 60-minute?
Yeah, like 20 more minutes. Can you like let us know when it's like 5 more minutes by giving us 5?
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll just cut this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Do we look okay? Do you want me to sit up a little bit more? like being at the same height as you. This, my thing just started to fall a little bit, and so I didn't have the support anymore.
This is so fun.
It's so fun. Yeah. Are you happy with everything?
Oh my god, this is great.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you happy?
Yeah. It feels great.
That's really good.
Yeah, it
Feels
feels
really
really
natural.
good. And I like the stories that we're telling. And
Yeah.
I like, it feels supernatural.
Yeah. Is there any direction you want to go with the last 20 minutes?
Hold on, let me just make sure my mic is okay. And this is hidden. No, I want you to do what your questions are.
Okay.
Yeah. What did we talk about? Oh, let's talk a little bit more about what it means, like that process of becoming a queen.
Okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, this podcast is called Curvy to Queen, and my journey into my inner queen has been such an interesting one. I think it kind of, in these last few years, I got the signal at a different retreat where we had to think of a name that made us like really nervous to lean into. And they actually gave me the name I Am Queen.
That was your name?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Hedrick Smith's workshop.
Oh, right.
And I remember being like, and I remember like people talking about the queen codes but I mean, I was like so happy in the priestess lane.
Mm-hmm.
Like I loved my priestess face. Like,
yeah,
we
I
excelled in the priestess.
You
stage.
did.
I rocked it.
You did rock it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting when, and so many people had said to me along the way, like, I see that you have blue blood. I see it in you. And I was like, well, they're just saying that because I like fancy things, that like I have like this regal coating, but I didn't read that much into it. But then I kept getting signs that no, this was actually a major part of my path. In fact, I did a mirror exercise once where you look in the mirror and you ask to see your past lives in the mirror. Have you ever done that?
No, I don't think I've seen. I've done mirror work, but I haven't done it like to show me my past life.
Yeah. So this healer kept saying like you need to do this exercise.
Okay.
And so I did it, and finally it worked. And literally all my past lives, I was royalty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I was like, okay, there's something to this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't just a gimmicky thing. Like, this is actually a part of my path. And so a few years ago, this really showed up when they labeled me as I Am Queen.
Right.
And it really took me on this path where then I did a hypnotherapy session around it, and I connected to this past lifetime as a queen in India. That was really powerful, that helped me understand. It was a queen that set up this market that is now, it's the oldest market in India. And this queen created it next to her palace.
Wow.
to bring in the best artisans of India. And that's where I get my term from to make my pieces. And the first time that I entered that market, it was like this complete download. Not that I was the queen that created it. It was that I thought I just had a little trim stand there. It was like, I know these alleyways. Like, wow, there's something visceral that just happened when I walked on those streets. And then later on, when this hypnotherapy session, I connected to that I was the queen that had created that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it made a lot of sense why I was so drawn to Indian fashion, and it just made all the pieces come together. And I really went into connecting with this queen part of me really powerfully in these last few years. And it's been such a powerful process that has really demanded me to release this self-conscious version of myself. Because when you think of a queen, you don't think of a queen as somebody that's like, oh, do I look okay? Do they think I'm fat? You know?
Right.
Like, a queen does not think about those things. Like, a queen knows her power. She knows her beauty. She knows what her purpose is. She knows how to be, you know, she has so much higher things to think about than these self-confidence issues. You know, if you're ruling the land,
right,
and responsible for the success of your people, that's where your focus is. And so it's demanded me to go back and be okay with being curvy, and not only accept that, but actually use that as my superpower now. So that's a little bit about my journey with
becoming
stuff.
a queen. I
Yeah.
love it. And it's been like such an honor to witness you on that journey as you've stepped more and more into your queen. Wow. You know, I remember I never connected with royalty in that way since I was young. It wasn't like, you know, I feel like you may have had that path even from an earlier age than when people started telling you. For me, I had a healer who really could see. You know how you can see. I had this healer who could see, and she said, "Vanetta, you are spiritual royalty. Do you understand this?" And I didn't. You know what I mean? I had no clue about that. So that was like the first time someone started talking to me about the queen archetype. I studied Carolyn Mace's archetypes back when I was in my early 30s, so I recognized the archetype of the queen, but she wasn't part of my archetypal, you know, spread. In that work, you identified with certain archetypes, and the queen wasn't one. I definitely identified with the goddess, the healer, the teacher, the mother, the liberator. I remember that one. But I didn't identify with the queen, and I would say it's been a maturation into her, right? And for me, people have seen me, you know, like they've said, "Oh yeah, you were a queen in a past life," but I would say none of that really landed. What really landed for me, stepping into my queen, was just being so grounded and being more grounded in my mission, I would say. And when I decided, it's been a path of awakening my inner sovereignty, but really claiming my sovereignty, my sovereign self. Claiming that daily is what really began to activate me in my inner queen. And then, of course, having the reflection of other queens helped to further deepen my own embodiment into the queen. But yeah, it's been a journey. I was so comfortable being the priestess. I thought that I would be the priestess forever, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people would talk about like, oh, you know, hey queen, you know how like that was going around. I didn't resonate with that. Now I'm like, what up, queen? Hello, queen.
Yeah.
Now I just see the queens everywhere, and I just feel really drawn to other queens. And it's beautiful. I mean, the queen is one of many archetypes of the divine feminine. And what I love the most is that so many women are being activated into these divine feminine archetypes. The healer, the queen, like the real mother, the unconditional mother, the priestess, the goddess. I mean, from my perspective, we're all goddesses. You know, we're all goddesses, but not everyone wants to be a queen or has those codes.
Yeah.
You know, and not everyone is a priestess or has those codes.
No.
You know, there are plenty of women who are queens and they are athletes. You know what I mean? Who are priestesses and they're beekeepers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really about everyone finding themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just watching an old episode of The Voice, um, and there's so much about Reba McEntire being the queen
Oh,
of
really?
the show, and and it's so cute, because she's like the queen of country. They've like labeled
Right.
her as that,
Yeah.
and so there's so many flavors of it.
So many flavors of it. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I think I mean, I remember somebody mentioning a long time ago, they were saying that a lot of people miss the queen step between like priestess and like an elder,
Right.
and that there's a step of a queen in between that a lot of people don't recognize. And yeah, I mean, I like, do you feel like people talk a lot about the queen step?
Within,
like
the step into the queen?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we heard a lot about stepping into like the alchemy and definitely into eldership, but yeah, some people do miss the queen. I mean, for me personally, the queen is about, it's similar to what you shared, that she is ruling a domain, and that domain is your own personal domain. It's your own garden of creation. And it's you taking full reign, full responsibility as a creator of your life, that you actually begin to really embody the queen archetype. And I think that I was so resistant to the queen because, I recognize the queen from what we learned about the crown of no disrespect, no disrespect, to the British matriarchy, but that representation of the queen of like, I'm ruler of all of these people, was never something that I really believed in or that really resonated with me. But the resonance of, I am the ruler of my own world, of my life, of my creations, and that I am the sovereign leader of everything that happens for me, which I always want to be for the highest benefit of all, which I believe is part of the path of the priestess. Stepping into the priestess really helped me recognize, wow, what I do, I want to do in service to all. And now translating that into the queen, but really still being the queen of my life, not like I'm ruling somebody, you know what I mean?
No, and there is this distinction, because when I first started talking about regal coding and queen stuff, people, I had to really explain to people, I'm not looking to be the Queen of England. Like this is a very different,
right.
Like this is a very different frequency of it. This is you're here for a purpose. You are a leader, but in a way that isn't about gaining power. It's about really helping people.
Right. Yeah. And helping yourself first.
Yeah. And it's a real compassionate role.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to gain power.
Right.
It's to contribute.
Thank you. Yeah, stepping into the queen archetype is a way in which you contribute through being in your highest alignment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when we, as the sovereign leaders of our own domain, take ownership and authority of our own lives and stay in our highest frequency, which I feel is, absolutely, those are the queen codes. But then to offer that in service to others it's like, that's the path. Yeah. Beautiful.
You definitely embody the queen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I feel like we've both been, like...
Our journeys have been kind of like step in step, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely embody the queen. Everybody sees your queen.
Well, I remember the first time I saw my queen.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah, so it was with Angelina.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Angelina is a dear sister of ours who has transitioned into higher realms, but is still with us every single day, every step along this journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was in ceremony with her, in a private ceremony, and she'd asked me to purchase a full-length mirror for our ceremony. And in the ceremony, she had me walk up to the mirror, and I just remember like stopping dead in my tracks, and I became completely like did not move a muscle for about 20 minutes, and was just staring at myself, and I was like, oh my god, like that is the queen that everybody's been seeing. I had no idea. I really had no idea.
We're like the last to know, right?
I could not believe it. I could not take my eyes off of her. And meaning myself, like my reflection, I couldn't believe. And it was a connection to a beauty that surpassed my weight, surpassed my curves, surpassed any like egoic thing. I saw my queen. And it was the most breathtaking moment. And I'll never forget it. And after that, it was like, oh, okay, so that's how people are seeing me.
That's so interesting. Of course, yeah, that's how we all see you.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I think I love that story. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I feel like I first saw my queen in Egypt with you. Yeah.
Really?
If I were to like, I mean, I haven't thought like so deeply about like when was the moment that I saw her, but it was when we were in Egypt. I felt like I was treated like a queen, you know?
I felt like Queen Elizabeth on that trip.
You did?
Like I kept having the experience. Okay, so we went to Egypt together, and it was the most incredible trip of my life.
Journey. Yeah.
It was so exquisite. And there was something that happened on that trip that was just so magical. Everywhere we went, we had people lined up around us, wanting to talk to us, wanting to have photos with us. I mean, at the Great Pyramids, like our driver had to pry us out of hundreds of people. I mean, it was like a mob scene.
It was wild. That was wild.
Yeah, and I felt like every place we went, every little town we drove through, people would stare at us like we were this, like the Queen of England was driving through. And I'd never been, like I'd been seen in our circles, but I'd never been seen like that outside of our circles. Just the general public.
Right.
I could see both of us so clearly. Everywhere we went, they would pull us aside and say, okay, here's the secret entrance. Here's the secret thing that we're not allowed to teach.
To share with anyone.
Yeah.
But we look at you and all of a sudden you have access to like the most potent regions of the temples and of Egypt where we were, everywhere we went. It was really phenomenal. But yeah, for me, that experience was the first time that I got to see my inner queen because of how we were received in that country. Yeah. And then from there on, it was like everywhere, you know.
And it was so amazing because that was kind of, I think that was like the first time that I really took my collection, my clothing collection,
that's right,
for a ride.
Okay, so hello, I was wearing your shlokas and you were wearing your shlokas, and we were both wearing
We were adorned.
We were adorned in your... There we go.
Yeah. And it was like the first time that I really took my creations out in the world, took them for a spin. And it was, I mean...
It was epic.
Our trip would have been very different without those outfits.
For sure. They
opened up every door.
The outfits.
I mean, we probably would have anyway, but like...
No, but they activated a part of us. They activated the Queen codes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they totally did.
Yeah, I mean, before we went, everybody said you won't be able to do any photos, any temples. They won't allow
Right.
you to do anything spiritual.
Exactly.
Like, you know, because I was like all excited. I was going to bring my collection to this trip, and they're like, "Don't get your hopes up. Like, you won't get anything." We had the temple keepers doing photography for us.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, they
like giving us access to everything. It would. I mean, God bless the temple keepers of Egypt, of the pyramids, of Luxor, of all of those magnificent temples. I mean,
They were
we had the
amazing.
time of our lives, right?
and we'd show up to most of the temples, and we'd be the only ones there.
Sometimes, yeah,
Sometimes,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it was
That was the blessing and the prayer.
yeah.
So it was the prayer too, because for me, I wanted to experience those holy spaces without any other disturbances, without other energies interfering. And for me, that whole trip was a trip of prayer. You know, I was in deep prayer while I was there, and preparations for our retreat that we're going to be doing in Egypt. Yeah. So good. So good. I mean, we've had so many amazing trips together. So many. Oh, and so many more to come, right? Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Well, thank you. I think he's gonna give us the time there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
This has been incredible, babe.
It's been so fun to talk to you and
so
just to
good.
reminisce and also share. Yeah, just share all of this wisdom that we've learned on the journey. You know, our journeys may have been long, but what I know and what I've seen is that there's so much support now.
Yeah.
There's so much support.
We didn't have the support. I mean, we were like
we were
one,
we were pioneering this movement.
one person would get one step
Ahead.
ahead, and we'd all follow it.
Right,
You know, and be like,
exactly.
okay, what did you find out?
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Now there's such a bigger map.
So much information, so many different avenues for awakening yourself and getting support, and so many more retreats. You know, there's just, you know, it's there's an awakening happening, and it's so exciting. It's so exciting to witness.
It is really exciting.
Yeah, and I think that no matter what happens in the world, as we start to see the world even contract even more over time, politically, economically, socially, it's really important for us to remember that we are a global tribe, and that this global tribe is growing. And even when I'll just share a personal story, but when I started fully stepping into my dharmic path, and I remember working with this woman in Ohio, and she's like, and I told her, I said, babe, you're gonna find your people here. She's like, there aren't these people here. She was so clear. These people don't live here. I need to move to California. I'm like, you don't need to move to California. I trust me that when you're carrying the resonance, you're going to find them. And sure enough, she began carrying her own resonance, stepping into her authenticity, really claiming her power, stepping into like her truth, and the people were flocking to her. She told me that she was at the grocery store and someone walked up to her. You know how, like you said, if you
can't find your tribe, create it.
Exactly. So true. Exactly. Yeah. You be the one. You be the one.
Yeah.
And just like.
And it may just be that the world is waiting for you to step into that version of you to create it for other people.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Just amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So good. Yeah. I really feel like this podcast is going to be like, not like ours. I just mean in general. Like, I just want to bless you and wish you so much success with this Curvy to Queen podcast, because I feel that your journey of stepping into a place of body acceptance is so inspiring. for so many people. And so, especially for women, you know, especially for women. So many blessings.
Thank you so much, love. Thank you for being my first guest.
Yay! Love it.
The end.
And voila.
Voila.
We are complete.
Yes. Finito.
Finito!
Yeah. Oh,
Yay!
babe. So good.
So good.
So good.
So good. My arm hurts, but because I was leaning on it
I know.
for so long.